All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 14 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. 20 minutes with some of the world's top fitness professionals. I'm your host, Anthony Arena. You can check out the show notes at stop20podcast.com. That's stop20podcast.com. Make sure you go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Please, please, please leave us a rating and a review. We're getting a lot of people, like I've said last couple episodes, a lot of people sending me some notes, some really positive notes, or loving the show. But we need some more ratings and some reviews on iTunes to get us up there. For today's episode, I have on Jeff Higuera, and Jeff he has a degree in kinesiology from the University of Northern Colorado, and that's where he played some college basketball. And he is a spry master trainer. He's a brand ambassador for Moment Sports. He trains a long list of high-performing athletes, both in the Orlando area and online. And those include MLB players, some NFL guys, some NBA guys. So, Jeff, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. I actually feel like I kind of finally made it. I'm getting interviewed by you.
Nice. All right. Well, let's go into your story. What was the spark for your fitness lifestyle?
All right, yeah. So I actually grew up in like one of the smallest towns in America, in Colorado. I think still to this day, like there's only one stoplight. So
what town is it?
It's called Parachute, Colorado. Like if you drove through it, like you probably wouldn't even notice it. So I grew up in a small town, and I also, I was pretty small growing up. I didn't really hit 6 feet tall until I was around 19 years old. And I kind of grew up in a time and an era when, people did some weight training for football, and I really enjoyed sports, and I played all different sports, and, but weight training wasn't really a thing that anyone that I knew really did. But I remember when I was 13, my dad took me down to the high school weight room, and it was in like a single wide trailer or something. And my high school football coach put me through a workout. And I remember being so sore and miserable the next few days. I don't think I lifted weights again until I was like in college.
Nice.
But then, I also had a varsity basketball coach that was really against it, that would mess up your shot. And so I kind of stayed away from those things until I got to college. And then I walked on the basketball team, but I started by, just playing pickup basketball with a lot of these guys, and being like 5'10", 150 pounds wet. I mean, I would just get worked by these guys. I mean, physically just beat up every day. I mean, they treated me like a child. So 19, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of getting beat up, and I'm going to start just lifting weights. So I remember distinctly that summer, I lifted every body part like 5 or 6 days a week. And my friend was like, yeah, you got to do 6 sets of 6 of everything. So that's what I did. And, it probably wasn't the best program that you could ever do, but I got strong, and it like changed, like my life pretty much like changed over the summer. I mean, all of a sudden I had like this new, like I felt like this superhuman strength and speed and jumping ability. And I ended up walking on the basketball team the next year. And really because it was the physical side that I was just, kind of passed everybody up on. That really committing to that goal and living my dream of playing college basketball, really kind of sparked in me like this love for strength and conditioning, and how important it was to move in different levels.
It's pretty funny. First of all, the whole don't your basketball coach was against it in high school, right? Because it's going to mess your shot up. So different back then, right?
Yeah. What happened too? We had a game like my sophomore year, and we had all just been messing around in the weight room, and then we started getting competitive. And this was during the basketball season, and we all lifted all these weights, so we were so sore the next day we couldn't even shoot. So like our coach actually like made a rule there was no lifting weights ever again. Like it was pretty
nice. Yeah, and it's funny how when you're 19 you can get away with training every body part every day, and probably eating pizza and drinking soda. Jeff, who is that person who influenced you growing up to kind of become the person you are?
Well, like I said, growing up in a really small blue collar town, there wasn't much going on around for me that I really looked up to, because I just love sports so much, and besides my dad, who just gave me a lot of opportunities, mine were Magic Johnson, John Elway, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Sanders, and then a little bit later Michael Jordan. I tried as hard as I could to, with not as much luck, obviously, to be every one of them at some degree. And I studied these guys, the way they shot, the way they swung, the way they threw the ball, and these guys were really the guys that inspired me.
Very cool. Who's that person now that you feel like you're looking up to, and people that are doing some great things?
Well, so both of them, the main ones are no longer with us. And one of them is a no-brainer if you follow me on social media at all, but it's Walt Disney and Steve Jobs. And I've done as much as I could to learn about these two guys, and they're just such pioneers of what they did. But what I really loved about them was just their unbelievable desire to attain excellence in what they do, and their passion, I really thought was, their genius. And they both overcame such difficult roadblocks that would have stopped most of us dead in our tracks. And I really appreciate just how much they cared about excellence in every detail of their businesses and their products.
Love it. Did you get into Disney when you moved to Orlando, or were you always into it, or how did that?
So, when I grew up in Colorado, my dad's family lived in California. So every summer we would save money to take a trip out there and we went to Disneyland every year. And I just remember it being the greatest. It was the greatest trip of my growing up. So when I moved to Orlando, I decided I was not going to go to Disney until I had kids. So I actually lived in Orlando for a few years before my daughter was born. But when we started going there, it was just, for them and the kids, it just became something that I really liked it. And then I really started getting into the business side of it and seeing how they operated. And I really, just enjoyed the experience that they put on all the time, every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who are you trying to be a superhero to? I know you have 4 kids, and, you're a trainer and you have clients all over the world now. Who are you trying to be a superhero to? Number one has got to be my kids. And I think Coach Boyle kind of said this in his, at the end of the day, you could be called a superhero to the entire world. And if my kids think I suck, then it doesn't really mean anything, So, besides that, I think one of the things that my first mentor told me was that, you don't get into this industry to make money. You're not going to make any money in this industry. So one of the things I'm trying to do is help, the trainers that have been underneath me, those fitness professionals that want to make an impact, into helping them understand that, you really can do okay in this industry, and, kind of show them the way and show them how to do those things. So I really think that's one of the main ones. Love it. Yeah, you've been doing this for a long time, and I always love the perspective of the athlete. You went to college, you played, and strength and conditioning, like you said, made such a big impact, and it led you into the business as well, not just from the perspective of performance. Where do you feel like what are we doing right now? What when you're trying to teach younger trainers, what are you trying to talk to them about the way the industry, what we're doing right?
Well, the first thing is I'm telling them is, to do it right, stay away from the mirror selfies and, having people follow you around and filming you do hammer incline press the whole time, with your shirt off. And that's something that I tell them to, try to stay away from as much as possible, as much as it as a young fitness professional, like you kind of see these things happening right now. But also just I love the merging of technology and fitness. I think it's helping people stay more accountable, more engaged, and more aware of their lifestyle choices as well. I believe it's helping us as trainers. And some of the things might not be 100% accurate, but it's still giving them enough feedback to help them make better choices than they would if they didn't have it before.
I agree. It's funny about the young kids and the social media, and it's easy to say it, as we have to younger trainers, and I've done the same thing. And kind of, I think Coach Boyle had a rule. He wasn't going to friend anybody that didn't have a shirt on in their profile picture on Facebook. But I think one of the things for me is I feel for them, because a lot of the guys, the young kids starting, young men and women, they see all these idiot trainers going on Instagram, and they're not even really trainers. You know what I mean? And it's so hard for them to kind of be patient and hold back. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's, I call the fitness a lot of times, like at this point, it's the wild, wild west. I mean, you could pretty much get involved, if you're willing to, take your shirt off, do a bunch of exercises, and call yourself an online coach, on Instagram. So we're competing with that, and we're also competing to help educate the young, the next generation of trainers, with those things as well. So like what you guys are doing is, like, I think huge and awesome, because I feel like it's just such a platform that we can, as fitness professionals, send these young people to say, look, if you want to be great in this industry, this is where you got to go. This is who you got to listen to, and this is who you got to model and follow.
Yeah, I think the key word is, and you always use the two together, fitness professional, right? I mean, think about it, guys, right? I mean, so I think where Alan Cosgrove would always talk about, some of the things that you wouldn't say or, to your doctor, or you wouldn't expect of your doctor, or things that you would allow your doctor to do. Like, for example, if you wouldn't miss an appointment, and if they charged you, you would say, okay, yeah, they're a doctor, I mean, I know we're not doctors, but it's the same idea where we're trying to elevate ourselves. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. I also, and I was kind of a late adopter of the social media, because I was actually having a discussion with a guy that I mentored who owns a business here, fitness business here in Orlando. And he's like, yeah, man, we blame you for our inability to market on social media, because back in the day you just said, just be really good at what you do, and then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, but I follow that, you follow that, but then all of a sudden, like, you got to jump on board these things, or you really kind of get left behind.
Yeah. You know what? And it's a great point. And I think part of the problem, and Seth Godin used to say this, or I think his book was, I forget what the name of the book was, might have been called like Meatball Sunday, right? And where you basically have all these great, meatballs and ice cream and fudge and all these great ingredients, but when you put them all together, they're horrible, right? And so It's like with all the social media, you really have to learn to just be good at maybe one or two,
right?
Or be really good at one. It's still hard, though. It's really hard to, ignore some of the other platforms and try to focus on one.
That's such a great point. And because like I like to write, so that's kind of what I focused on. And once I started focusing on that, I actually like started getting a better presence within social media. Like if I would have focused on video or these other things I really wasn't as good at, I think it just would have been very average.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I think a blog, I don't see a blog ever going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I could see, Facebook's going to be around probably for a decent amount of time, but I could see, even where, they lost a lot of users to an Instagram and to a Snapchat, right? Or how popular Twitter was at one point, right? So I think, I don't think it's ever going to happen with a blog, because I think we'll always, want to read.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So it's a good thing to focus on. Jeff, now it's time for the Stop and Give Me 5 segment. 5 rapid-fire questions and answers. We're going to start out with not a boring one, but we're going to get into some Disney stuff because you're, like you said, anybody that follows you on social media knows you love Disney. Last really good book you read?
So I think the last one was probably Grit by Angela Duckworth.
Very cool. I've been listening to that. Tried to get her on the Strength Coach podcast, but I got turned down. Best insider tip for the average person going to Disney?
Ooh, okay. So if you're going to Walt Disney World, I mean, I would always say, don't follow everybody into the parking lot. Just go to a hotel that's close to the property and just say that you're going to go in there and have lunch or dinner and park there and be able to take your tram right from the comfort of a hotel into the park rather than getting on with every other person trying to get in the park at the same time.
All right. Favorite Disney character?
I got to say the Beast on that one for sure.
Nice. Most times you've been to Disney in a year?
Well, how many weekends are there in a
That's
probably 40 times, I would say.
Wow.
Maybe I think a week, in a week. I'm talking about a week, not just like staying at a hotel down there or anything. I went back and forth probably 4 or 5 times. Every time Charlie Weingroff is down here, I go meet him.
He's down there a lot too. So.
Oh yeah.
Desert Island. You only could bring one Star Wars movie. What is it?
I know The Empire Strikes Back is probably the most popular, but I'm a huge fan of Return of the Jedi. So I'm gonna go with that one.
How was the? This isn't one of our 5, but how was the new one? The Road.
It was really good. It was a great segue into 4 and a little darker, but I liked it a lot.
All right. Jeff, let's go with. I want to talk to you a little bit about where also you feel like the industry. I want to go back to the industry. Where do you feel like we're going with? I mean, I know we talked about technology, but you're doing a lot of online training, and you've only been doing it since September. And we had Martin Iguagu on here last episode, and he's been into it for a little while, and he's such a dynamic guy that I wanted to see what his challenges were trying to communicate his message through the online platform. Talk to me a little bit about your experience so far, since really it's pretty new to you since September. You're doing great with it, about some of the online training.
Yeah, so I think one of the main benefits of it is, so if you're a trainer, you have a client that comes in and sees you twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week, and pretty much this is the contact that you have with them. What I've really enjoyed about the online training is that you're setting up their entire training schedule. You're communicating with them, on a daily basis, and I am anyway, in kind of the way I'm running it. So the level of accountability is just so much higher. So those are the things that I've enjoyed about it. That being said, when you're doing all those things, it's more time consuming than you would think. It's not just throwing cookie cutter programs together. I mean, I'm trying to, make all these for different people, different times, different gyms, different locations. So it's challenging on that part, but I really love that part because I love the program design and thought behind those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting into that more myself in the coming year. Jeff, let's finish up with the advice you would give to the young Jeff living in Colorado.
All right, so my journey has been so interesting. I had a lot of success early, which I don't know if that happens that often in this industry. So during my 20s, I really positioned myself as like the sports performance, like go-to guy in Central Florida. at a pretty young age. And I hit some perfect timing because this is like when sports specific training kind of became like started to become popular in the private sector. And it was basically me and another guy doing it in this area, and that was it. And so I really capitalized on it. And that being said, my success was so linear. When I finally hit adversity, I hit it pretty big, and it was tough, really tough for me to accept the failure of it. And it was almost like this can't really happen to me. And so I made a lot of bad choices out of, just kind of pride and having an unrealistic viewpoint of where I really was. And so really, to me, it's kind of the cliche of, you got to really learn to fail. You got to fail early and you got to fail often. And you got to be okay with that and just take it, you got to take your bumps and learn everything you can and just keep moving forward.
Love it. Certainly great advice. And I think a lot of us would probably say a similar thing. So, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're doing such great stuff, and I got to spend some time with you out in Long Beach for one of the Perform Better Summits. We had a good time, and you're really doing some great stuff in Orlando. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Ant.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 14 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. Thanks again to Jeff Higuera. Make sure to check out all the links to all his stuff at stop20podcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave us a review and a rating. It's really going to help us out. My name's Anthony Rana. Thanks so much for stopping by.